Welcome back, everybody. It's no secret I love to make really big breakfasts. Today, I'm gonna make a omelet breakfast platter. First things first, hash browns. I always make potatoes O'Brien or home fries, but lately I'm getting back into hash browns. I like to use baking potatoes because you have a bigger potato. There's a lot more real estate there to make a lot more hash browns. You can get caught up in the potato debate. Oh, it's gotta be an Idaho Gold. It has to be a russet. Trust me, baking potatoes work just fine. The dreaded, the feared mandoline slicer. You wanna be really careful with a mandoline slicer. Probably the most dangerous piece of kitchen equipment. Pick yourself up a pair of these cut-resistant gloves and still be careful. Time to make those hash browns. You could see what I'm talking about. How easy it would be if you weren't using these gloves to slip and cut your finger. So please be careful. Hash browns ready to cook. I have my Blackstone Pro Series. We're gonna set it nice and low, down with a little bit of avocado oil. I always start my cooks with a nice and shiny griddle top. It's also the same way I end my cook. Blackstone should always look like that. Look how beautiful that is. Oil is the #1 ingredient in seasoning and maintaining the seasoning on your griddle. I'll put one more small line of oil where my hash browns are going down. We'll drop them. Early on, I like to get those into an oval or into a rectangular shape. Little salt, pepper, garlic down on the hash browns. Then if you need to, you can add a little more oil. Give it a quick flip. Might break them up a little bit. Get those seasonings mixed up, and I'll pretty much stick to that same rectangular shape, and you can carefully flip it, and you can see it's already starting to maintain the shape that I want. Texas Wild Hog Chorizo. If you haven't seen it yet, go back to last June in the archives. My Texas Wild Hog Hunt, where we make the chorizo. If I can have it my way, PK, have it your way. I like to have it semi-frozen. That way it's easy to cut into perfect sausage circles like that. Little patties. If it's semi-frozen, it just makes things a lot easier. A little more avocado oil. Down with my sausage patties. Cooking on a griddle is just like cooking in a skillet, in a frying pan. You can use your spatula to help get a good sear. Speaking about nice color and good sears, our hash browns are looking absolutely perfect. In fact, I'm going to come down here and turn this burner off. I have 4 burners. That doesn't mean that it's going to cool off. It's just going to mean that I'm not going to have direct heat underneath the hash brown. Still going to be plenty of heat. They're going to be piping hot, but it'll just be slightly less hot than it would be if I had them all on. Sausage patties, really quick sear. Same thing. I'm going to slide those over. Omelet time. I'm going to do 4 eggs. We're going to be using the Blackstone omelet mold today. I think 4 just fills it up better. That's a pretty big omelet. You could probably do 3, but I like to do 4. Go ahead and dare me. Maybe someday I'll make a 5 or a 6 egg omelet. I like making omelets once in a while because you don't need to worry about breaking the yolk. Use a fork. I don't ever use a whisk. And I'll use whatever we have on hand, either half and half or heavy whipping cream. Just gives you a way more fluffy omelet. Bell pepper, red onion, and cheese, and I like spinach, but I'm a little bit weird when it comes to spinach in my omelets. In the tortelloni, I leave the stems on there, but in my omelets, oh, I don't want the stems. So I always break the stems off and I slice it up really thin, almost looks like basil. I'm gonna come down here and actually turn the right burner off. This guy's crazy. We're still on low and low and we're off. We'll take one last look at the hash browns. right there. That's about as good as a hash brown could possibly look. The griddle is off and it's on low, so very cool. I'm gonna go down with my omelet mold. These are silicone. They're non-stick, but I always err on the side of caution. With a little bit of cooking spray into my omelet mold very slowly. My griddle's still cooling down. You can see it's bubbling up pretty high. I'm gonna pop a few of these bubbles. I grabbed some Blackstone Cajun seasoning from the pantry. It doesn't matter what order, but I'll go in with my bell pepper. I have red onion today, a little red onion in there. Beautiful spinach and some cheddar cheese that I shredded up in the kitchen. It's really important to have this set at a lower temperature. You saw how it bubbled up at first. It was so hot, but then as it cooled down over the next minute or so, everything looks really nice. Always like to babysit my omelets, kind of like I would French toast or a crepe or a pancake. Check those edges. You might need to come down here, crank the temperature up. You might need to drop the temperature. I like to use a nice sourdough bread. I think you can get this brand at most stores. Everybody knows rustic oven's my favorite, but this is really good as well. I'm not going to use the mayo on the bread like we would for a hamburger bun. Just want to toast this up and then we'll put some butter on it later. And here is that moment of truth. You can already see, look at this. You can see clearly that the non-stick is working. Let's go ahead and pull my omelet ring. I'm thinking of this as a tri-fold piece of paper. I'm gonna do 1 and 2 folds. So we're gonna go near the end, we're gonna fold over once, and then we're gonna go in for my final fold. I might have to use my fingers as backup, and look at that. Beautiful omelet. We can clean up these edges later if we want to. We can go ahead and scrape off the edges, but I kinda like this. I like that action right there. When you put that down on a platter, it kinda shows everybody what's in the omelet. Back in the day, when I first started to make omelets, I'd look at that and see the wet, and I'd be so concerned with having wet, runny eggs that sometimes I would overcook the omelet. It's also one reason why I like using the heavy whipping cream and the half and half. You just get a way more light, fluffy, moist omelet. Grab those hash browns. They've been sitting over there in a little holding pattern, and I think I'm actually going to switch things over to a white plate. Look at that. The contrast is beautiful. So we should be able to get underneath that omelet and move it over here. Look at that. In for my sausage. Delicious European style butter. We just recently switched to using the European style butter. And down with that sourdough toast, my absolute favorite. And take a look at that. It looks so delicious. That's a huge bite. I'm very hungry. My wife, who is the brains of the operation behind the camera, probably telling me, do not put the whole thing in your mouth. Let's give it a try. I have to stop right there. The half and half. Oh my goodness. Born in Pittsburgh, so you know I have to have that Heinz ketchup. Go ahead, ketchup haters. Leave your comments down below. I don't care. I love my Heinz ketchup. People tend to overthink hash browns. I was watching another griddler's breakfast cooking video on YouTube recently, and the comments about hash browns almost made me nauseous. It's not that hard. It doesn't really matter what kind of potato. I like to use the baking potato because you got more real estate, more potato. Use a mandoline slicer. My goodness. Form them into an oval, a rectangular patty. Use your seasoning. Some people put butter in there. I use the avocado oil. I'm gonna make a little sandwich. Let me know in the comments down below. Does anybody else like to do stuff like this? Growing up, my dad always had to make everything into something that was on bread, you know, like a sandwich. Even if we had spaghetti, we were putting the spaghetti on bread. It's hard for me to break my carbohydrate roots. I'm the kind of guy that does stuff like this. Everything gets an all-in-one. The whole entire breakfast platter is right here. The average person wouldn't be able to eat this. I guess we should show you how to clean the griddle. Keep your griddle on high heat because grease solidifies and it's easier to clean when the griddle is on high. I like to use this type of scraper. That's my scraper of choice. Get in there and we should be able to gently, you see I'm not digging in, we're not going in on the corner, we're gently scraping. We're literally just skimming the top of the griddle. This breakfast was really easy. It wasn't messy. It wasn't stir fry. You watch my stir fry videos, you'll see it takes a couple more seconds to clean up stir fry. That's all we do. We move all the crumbs back there into the grease cup. Grab a big roll of the quicker picker-upper. I'm using my bare hands, by the way. This is a hot griddle top, so you want to be careful. You might want to use heat-resistant gloves or a set of tongs. Do not want you to get burned. You do that, you'll wipe all those crumbs off. And just like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I like to finish my cooks the same way I start them. A little bit of cooking oil, grab that same cloth or that same rag that I used at the beginning, and I rub a very light coat of oil into my griddle top, and that's the way I pack it away. It's nice and shiny. It's ready for storage, or it's ready for another recipe. Thanks for watching, everybody. I sure do appreciate it. I didn't reinvent the wheel today, but we made a delicious breakfast. Hey, and by the way, if you're new to Griddle Nation, maybe you got a griddle for the holidays, maybe you got a griddle for Christmas, welcome. And check out my friends on the Blackstone Network. Until next time, this is Todd. Praise the Lord and pass the breakfast omelet breakfast, the breakfast.